Blessings, everyone. Hi. Hi. Welcome to Sunday Nights at Home with Rev D. Oh, so good. So good to be here. So good to look forward to being with you every week. I'm so excited. I am. Sunday Nights at Home with Rev D. My name is Reverend Denise Schubert. I'm an ordained science and mind minister. I am recently retired from working outside my home. So I am working here with you, right in my home office in North Fort Myers, Florida. And we come together to talk about things of interest to us as we evolve and as we deal with what life throws at us every single day. And so I have been looking so forward to this particular evening, this particular topic, and we'll share more about it in a moment. But in the meantime, if you are here, please say hello to me. So, too dense. I think that's less. Toby Burton. Hi, Toby. Hi. Glad you're here. Heather Abbott. Oh, so happy to see you. Terry Prince. Yes. Thanks. I'm so glad to have you over. I'm hoping you're having your glass of wine or a cup of tea. Hi, Terry. This particular topic tonight is so important. Well, listen, every topic we have is important. Hi, Doug. I am here because I have dedicated my entire second half of my life, from 0 to 50. I was in technology in Los Angeles. From 50 to 70, I have been in ministry, not so much in the pursuit of God, though I have found the divine presence within myself and always love to share that, but more of finding purpose, meaning, and passion in our lives, and to really learn how to apply these spiritual principles that we teach and practice in ways that make a difference. And I have this year, I have practiced so friggin' hard, as I know that you have too. So much stuff has happened, you know. Misty and Dorothy and Bernie. Oh my God, so happy to see you. So happy to see you here. So we get to practice. Where practice happens is when life shows up. And we're going to explore that tonight in this amazing topic, which is unconditional happiness. For many of you know I read this book. It's a book. Michael Singer, The Untethered Soul. He's a Buddhist. I'm not a Buddhist, but I love the Buddhist teachings, really, of detachment and unattachment. I do love them. But this, hi Suki, hi again. I do love the detachment and attachment and non-attachment teachings of Buddhism, because attachment leads to suffering, attachment to the way things used to be, attachment to the way things ought to be, attachment to the way of all of that. So I'm happy tonight to be teaching, truly, for those of you who know me or counsel with me, chapter 15, Unconditional Happiness. But here's what I want to do before we actually move into our topic. I want to get the announcements out of the way. And I do have some announcements for you. Let me see if I can find them. One is that the book study is full. So there's no registering into the book study right now. It's full, but we'll be back in March. And in March, we're going to be doing a Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, which is, one of my favorite books. Now, last week, I think it was less too dense, asked me to share my top 10 books with you. I'm going to do that right now. Here they are. These are my top 10, or actually my top 12 books. And we're starting with spiritual liberation. So I'm sorry if you wanted to do that, but you missed it. But that's what we're doing for the next 8 weeks. And then we're going to jump to number 3, which is A Return to Love, which is maybe my second, really. It's just an amazing, amazing book. So you can take a picture of this for yourself, or I'll show it again next week. but this is this is the top 10 books. If you're a spiritual seeker, I believe these books belong on your shelf. Yeah. So I can send that more later. I also want to tell you that so for those of you who don't know, I had my hip replaced. So I was the spiritual director at Unity Naples, yes, and then I shared responsibility with the amazing Reverend Claudia Renee, and I went out on medical leave November 1st to have my left hip replaced. And while I was out, after I had my left hip replaced, I had a small stroke. And the small stroke left my vision a little impaired, so I can't drive. So I'm not working. So how I'm earning my living and doing my joy is by being with you tonight. That is what I'm doing. So I just want the announcements out of the way. So if you want to support my ministry, you can support it by donation only. And I'm going to be here whether you donate or not, so there's no pressure here. This is simply, if you get spiritually fed, you can support me. And even if you do get spiritually fed and can't support me, that's okay too. I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to show up for you every week, no matter what. So the book study is complete. And one more announcement, which is that we, on Monday nights, so StreamYard is a one-way street. I talk to you. You can't talk to me really except through chatting, but I can't really stop and pay attention to you. Otherwise, I would stop paying attention to everyone else. So on Monday, we meet on Zoom. And we did this last week, and it was amazing. So much fun, so deep. So take a note. All you have to do is join a Zoom meeting. And this is my home phone, so 479-283-9409. So tomorrow night, 6 p.m., you can join me and others on Zoom for a more personal unpacking of tonight's message. Got it? So also that. So I think that's all my announcements, so that we can really kind of slide into tonight's topic. Tonight's topic being... Let's see who else has joined. And then try again. So my website to donate, really, to support the ministry, I don't know if this came through or not, is deniseschubert.com. That's it, deniseschubert.com. There's a donate button, and you can do that. There's a deniseschubert.com. If you want to do a one-on-one coaching session, that's also where you would schedule it. So there you are. So let's go into unconditional happiness. I'm going to speak a word of blessing upon our time together tonight, and then we'll dive into this transformative teaching. And it is transformative if you embrace it. And I have embraced it. I'll share more with you about it in a moment. It will change you in ways that will kind of rock your world. Rock your world. It will. Unconditional happiness. And even notice before I pray, if your mind goes, well, that's not possible. Unconditional happiness, like without conditions. Like I'm supposed to be happy during COVID. I'm supposed to be happy, if I get sick. I'm supposed to be happy if I'm in an accident. Well, Michael Singer says unconditional. I read this book and this chapter in March of 2020. And it was right in the beginning of COVID. And one of my animal companions, I had to put her down. Her name was Lily, and she was a 15, not even that old, 12-year-old Siamese girl. And I was so unhappy. Oh my God, I was so miserable. And I know it's hard to believe because I'm so friggin' cheerful, but even cheerful people have down days. And I read this chapter and I totally got my responsibility in this. So that's what we're sharing here tonight. I'm excited about it. But before we do that, I'm going to bless us If you're new to me, blessing just means we're going to call this time together. We have sacred, that you have taken time out of your day to come be with me. And I don't waste my time, and I know that you don't waste your time. So we are coming together, and we are simply acknowledging that we are made in the image and likeness of love, that we live in a world that's governed by love and science. You can call this love and science God or spirit or angels. I don't really care what you call it, but that we live in it. And so I know that as we come together and we bring our attention to the sacred brings its attention to us. And so there is great good for us here tonight if we simply just open our hearts and our minds, if we become receptive and make the divine welcomed. And so I affirm that for each and every one of us, either here tonight, here tomorrow night, listening later, it doesn't matter. We are one with the one. And so I'm so grateful to be with you, so grateful to share my life with you and for you to share your life with me. We let this be, and so it is. Amen. Amen. So, all right. Hi, David. David has joined us. That's awesome. Yeah. So, this chapter of Unconditional Happiness, I want to start by reading what David Singer said. And by the way, so now I've made all the announcements, right? You can go to my website. You can donate to my ministry, which I encourage you to do, but don't obviously enforce it. And if you want to schedule counseling, you can. The book study is full. Those are our announcements. Other than next week, I'll share the topic for next week at the end. But I want to read this first paragraph in Michael Singer's book, The Path of Unconditional Happiness. And again, please do not, I want you to watch your mind here, because your mind's going to go, it's not possible to be happy all the time. But it's why we're not happy all the time, because we believe that unhappiness is necessary. It's the same reason why we're not peaceful all the time, because we believe that the lack of peace is necessary. But here's what he says. And by the way, you know, I have kind of funky eyes, so my reading this is like a little bit of a miracle happening right before your eyes, because you can see me probably way better than I could see you if you were sitting here. I'm so glad you're here. So he says, the highest spiritual path is life itself. If you know how to live daily life, it all becomes a liberating experience. But first, you have to approach life properly, or it can be very, very confusing. To begin with, you have to realize that you really only have one choice in this life. And it's not about your career, about who you're going to marry, about where you're going to go to college, about how you're going to find God. He says people tend to burden themselves with so many choices. But in the end, you can throw it all away and just make one basic underlying decision. Do you want to be happy, or do you not want to be happy? Do you get how incredible that is? No, that was me, not David. Michael, sorry, not Michael Singer. He says, it's really that simple. Once you make that choice, your path through life becomes totally clear. You know, I just want to share this one moment I had, which was so powerful and so extraordinary in that, and I don't know, you know, I share my stories with you always from the perspective of raising consciousness. You know, because I kind of do my own practice, as you will always have to do your own practice. But I was in the hospital, so I had my hip replaced on a Monday. I had a stroke on a Wednesday. I was in the hospital on Friday, and I was so afraid and so in so much pain. I mean, really, and I was just, you know, I don't know. My life kind of got turned upside down in a minute. And I've been practicing unconditional happiness, so this didn't come to me on that day. I had already been there. And I remember I was in the hospital, and they were getting ready to do an angiogram. They were like where they take pictures of your brain. And I said to myself, Denise, so are you committed to being happy no matter what? Or are you going to give up your happiness because of the situation? What are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do here? I mean, this is like walk your walk time, right? And I remember I thought, well, okay, all right, so I can't change the situation, so what can I do? So I thought, well, I'm going to just play music. I'm going to listen to music because they're going to be here in 3 hours and take me down, and who knows what happens. And I had this with me. This is a little speaker. It's like a Bluetooth speaker. So I had my iPhone and my speaker, and I put on Andrea Bocelli as loud as I could, Celine Dion as loud as I could. I'm telling you, this music made me so happy that I didn't care if I lived or died. I was connected and I was in joy. And I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure, no, the scientists would say, oh, for God's sake, Steve, that had nothing to do with anything. And I say it had everything to do with everything. So I believe, so I lean into this teaching, unconditional happiness. So I want to go on with what he said. He said, most people don't dare give themselves that choice because they think it's not under their control. Someone might say, well, of course I want to be happy, but what if my wife left me? What if I had an accident? What if my house burned down? But he says that wasn't the question. The question is, I want to be happy from this moment forward for the rest. Do you want to be happy from this point forward for the rest of your life, regardless of what happens? Just breathe it in for a minute because it's huge. And what would the answer be? What would the answer be? The answer would be, of course, you want to be happy from this moment forward. But in New Thought teachings, we believe and teach that reality is right there where your mind and matter meets. So when I say that, when he says that, what in you says, well, yes, but I can't be happy if my cat dies. It's like, well, I hear you. I was there. You grieve. You grieve, but is it true that happiness is a function of conditions, or can we just embrace conditions? So he says you have to give an unconditional answer. You have to but think about this. It's actually almost with peace, right? And by the way, we live in a culture, and this is true for every single one of us. We live in a culture in which happiness is not encouraged. Happiness is not celebrated. Happiness is not expected. We live in a culture in which it is normal to be worried, doubtful, fearful, skeptical. Even when we have moments of happiness, we kind of sit in the place of, well, it's great to be happy now, but something's going to happen in a minute in which my happiness will be destroyed. Do you understand? We're not conditioned to be happy. You watch the news, they're not saying, oh my God, be happy the tornado missed you. They're like, oh, be wary, find shelter. So it is a spiritual practice that we must cultivate. No different than peace, no different than love, no different than joy. It's like we have to claim it for ourselves. It's almost like the lesson last week was on possibility. Is the possibility of unconditional happiness something you can claim for yourself and then stand for? So Michael Singer says, if you decide that you're going to be happy from now on for the rest of your life, not only will you be happy, but you will become enlightened. So big. Not only will you be happy, but you will awaken to the divinity within you. Why? Because the presence, breathe for a minute. The spiritual path promises to us happiness and contentment and power and creative energy. It promises us that we can awaken to our divinity. And in that divinity, we become immune to the pain and suffering of what it means to be merely mortal, that we add something to our humanity which will lift us into something greater. That is the promise of our spiritual practice. And Michael Singer is talking here about this kind of unwavering commitment to happiness that will allow us to become less attached to our personal life and more attached to our spiritual life. Because we are spiritual beings. That's what we teach. Birthless, deathless, spiritual beings having a human experience. Not sent by God to suffer, but sent by God to experience and to celebrate this amazing, Michael Singer, I don't know where this sentence is, but he says, why would you want to spend 1 minute unhappy? You're on a dust ball in the middle of space, surrounded by nothing, hurling through space. Why not make it a joyous experience? Why not make it happy? Why make it so hard? I should go back to the comments for a minute to see where you all are. Are you Jan? Hi, Jan, you're here. So I want you, all of you that you're here, I just so love that you're here. It's so great to see you. But I want you not to hear my words like it's Michael Singer's words or even my words. It's like, I want us on Sunday nights at my house to go deep. So look at someplace in your life that's making you unhappy. Just look and see if you can allow the circumstance to be, but still strive for happiness. So I was talking to a young woman today, and sometimes we have to strive. Like in the hospital room, I had to find a way, like, what can I do that would make me happier than sitting here thinking my life is over or being afraid of what comes next? It's like, well, I've always loved Celine Dion and Andrea Bocelli. I love big, epic messages in music. So I just blared them. You understand? It was like an effort it was like a practice. So I want you, hey Casey, I want you to be looking at this personally, not like something I'm saying. Okay, good. So Michael Singer goes on to say, well, if you want to be happy, you have to let go of the part of you that wants to create melodrama. I think it was Eckhart Tolle, also one of my favorite books, who said something like, I have drama, therefore I am. Right? So drama kind of goes with Fox News. Drama kind of goes with the upbringing, that we are reared up to be dramatic and unhappy. And we love being happy. I'm not saying we don't want to be happy. We do want to be happy. And we covet those moments that make us happy. I know I do. I mean, who wants your cat to die? Who wants to have a stroke? You don't understand what I'm saying. Who wants COVID? Nobody wants those things. But they're going to come, I promise you, one after another your entire life. Something's going to happen next that will give you a reason to break your vow to be happy, to break your vow to have peace, to break your vow to have joy. It's a practice. But as Michael Singer said, if you are going to be happy for now and for the rest of your life, you're not only going to be happy, you will become enlightened. You will find your pathway to that which you are seeking, which is bliss and ecstasy and gratitude. So there's this part in this chapter where Michael says, if you think God likes to be around people that are happy, do you think that God likes to be around people that are happy or people that are miserable? He says, it's not really hard to tell. Just think about it by imagining that you're God. Who do you want to be around? He does this cute thing in this chapter where he says he comes down, God creates the universe and creates humans because he wants to experience himself through the earth and all of its beauty. And he comes down, and he talks to some humans. He says, well, how are you liking what I created? And, the human says, are you kidding me? It sucks. It just sucks. It rains, and there's thunder and lightning, and the animals, the ants bite me, and the mosquitoes are everywhere. The whole thing is just truly terrible. And God goes, oh, geez. Okay, geez Louise. All right, moves on and goes to the next person. He says, well, how are you liking what I created for you? And the person goes, oh my God, it is so extraordinarily wonderful. I can't believe the trees and the rainbows and the flowers and the smell of after the rainfall, and these amazing little tiny ants come up and bite me. They have so much courage. Like, who does God want to be with? Right? Who does God want to be with? And so there's God in most spiritual traditions is also equated to ecstasy, is also equated to unconditional love and joy. And, when I was playing this music in this hospital room, that's where I found myself. I found myself in ecstasy. And I'm not, I don't really know how to convey where I was in that moment, but I was filled with, the Titanic, I was just filled with this music. And there was this nurse who came in, this big African American, this big black, beautiful nurse. And she looks at me and she goes, oh, honey, sister, you are on God's time now. I probably said this last week too, but I was so full of gratitude. I'm sure there was light like going out of my eyes, boom, boom, boom. And she just said, you're on God's time. Whatever happens, you're on God's time. Don't worry about your hip. Don't worry about the stroke. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about your money. Don't worry about what's going to happen, that you are on God's time and God's got you. And it filled me with so much ecstasy. I just thought, you're right. You're right. So I went into this operating room with this physician and, this neurosurgeon and everyone, and it was just joyous. I filled them with joy. They filled me with joy. They actually decided to not put me under so I could stay with them during the whole procedure. It was joyous, and I don't know, you look at me now, I probably, I dress up for you. So the fact is I have, I don't know if I'm always this energetic every single day from morning, noon to night, that I'm still adjusting to life without driving or working outside the home and being here. But, here I am, and I feel happy to be here. So, unconditional happiness. So let's see what else is here for us. Again, I can't encourage you more to pay attention to what you're thinking in this moment, because your thinking is the only thing that matters. And I know some of you could be dealing with horrendous circumstances. I do know that. And I do have enormous compassion and understanding because I've been through them. And that when you're in the middle of the meltdown, the quality of happiness can be elusive, or of peace can be elusive. But what Michael Singer is saying, and what I want you to take into your consciousness in this moment, we're going to come back here. I'm going to come back to the question: Do you want to be happy from this point forward for the rest of your life, regardless of what happens? And he's saying this is the only question worth answering. Because if you say yes, and of course you would say yes, why would you most certainly probably would not say, I don't want to be happy from this moment forward. So you want to say yes. That if you can say yes, then life will begin to reorganize itself. Your mind will begin to reorganize itself. Your thoughts will begin to reorganize itself. Because then he went on to say that if you decide that you want to be happy, not only will you be happy, but you will become enlightened. And by the way, it doesn't mean you don't grieve. It doesn't mean you're never sad. It doesn't mean you're never mad. It just means that you've committed to happiness. And in God, all things are possible, right? In spirit, as a function of your commitment to peace or love or happiness, the mountains can get leveled and the valleys can get exalted. There can be solutions. When you're committed to unhappiness, when you're in your melodrama, solutions are elusive. It's not that they're not there, but you won't see them. So by committing to being happy, no matter what the circumstances, you will be open to answer solutions in ways that you never dreamed possible. Yes. So in the end of this beautiful chapter 15 from Michael Singer's, he lives in Florida. I hope he knows I'm really singing his praises because, first of all, the Untethered Soul, what a great name for a book, because untethered, think of it like a balloon, a hot air balloon. And when the hot air balloon is untethered, it raises into the heavens. When an elephant in a circus is untethered, it's free to walk wherever it wants. So your soul, when it's untethered from this worldly commitment to pain and suffering, can soar. So it's the Untethered Soul. It's just a beautiful name. In chapter 15, it's etched into my heart as no other chapter in a book can really be etched into my personal heart because it has saved my life. So he says, I'm going to read you the last chapter in this beautiful chapter, the last paragraph. He says, once you have passed through trial by fire, and you are thoroughly convinced that you will let go no matter what, then the veils of the human mind and heart will fall away. You will stand face to face with what is beyond you because there's no longer a need for you. And he's talking about you, the ego self, not you, the spirit self. When you are done playing with the temporal and finite, you will open to the eternal and infinite. Then the word happiness can't describe that state. That's where words like ecstasy, bliss, liberation, nirvana, and freedom come in. The joy becomes overwhelming and your cup runneth over. He says this path of unconditional happiness is a beautiful path. Be happy. So that's my sharing with you tonight. I hope some of you have found some relief if you have been in unhappiness today or stress today. Please do join me tomorrow on Facebook. On Zoom. You can just join a meeting, right? Everyone is welcome. Last week we had 6. I'm going to show you this again. We had 8 people. Well, I can't remember how many people it was, but it was absolutely wonderful. I'm sure most of them are here with me tonight. So it was just a wonderful love fest. So please join us tomorrow night, 6 p.m. I'm going to pray for us in just a moment. Next Sunday, our topic is going to be attitude is everything. I actually now think God and attitude are kind of synonymous. So we'll see what that means from a perspective of science and love. And that's it. So why don't we pray together and close our evening. Once again, this is my ministry, and you are whom I am sharing my life with in this moment. And I'm ever so grateful that you joined me, that you gave me a reason to put my earrings on and to show up and to do the work myself, right? Because we do the work together. So, all right, so join me in prayer. So in prayer, in this particular philosophy, faith, and way of life, we are not begging God to help us or fix us. That the gifts of God are given. God is already joy and bliss, nirvana and ecstasy. We are doing the very best we can do to get there to meet God right where God is, rather than trying to get God to meet us where we are. Because God doesn't see our problems. God doesn't see our suffering. God doesn't see any of that. God is pure happiness. And so as we turn together in prayer, we turn together to that space and place within each of us that is whole and perfect and complete. That space and place within each of us that is connected to each other and the entire cosmos. That we live in a web of connection. And that connection is undergirded and cradled by love and by science, in the regard that we are participants in the unfolding of our personal lives and the lives of all. And we are participate in that unfolding through our beliefs, our attitudes, our commitments, our devotion. And so it's from that place of connecting, from that place of knowing that we participate with our words, our attitudes, and beliefs, that I speak my word, my powerful word of conviction and faith upon each and every person on this call, claiming and proclaiming that the commitment to happiness leads you to happiness, that the commitment to peace leads us to peace, that the world will be to us what we are to the world. And so I accept that any situation in your life that is hurtful or painful or causing you any sleepless nights, that solutions arise in your consciousness to meet them right where they are, that you are raised above them so that they are dissolved and resolved. This is what I know is possible. If it's possible for me, it's possible for you. If it's possible for you and me, it's possible for the entire world. And so I'm grateful in this moment to stand in that space of commitment and to simply release my word into this amazing science of manifestation that God created for us and gave to us as a gift, and into the great love, the great heart of God that is the balm, the healing balm for all wounds. And so I'm grateful for this evening, looking forward to tomorrow and next week, and simply just bless us as we go about our business tonight at peace and in happiness, unconditionally. And so it is. Amen. Oh, so wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just had a wonderful time with you. I look forward to seeing whoever I see tomorrow on Zoom, 479-283-9409. Have a wonderful evening. Peace and blessings to you. Mwah.